And joining us now for the first time since defeating Republican incumbent Pete Sessions in the November race to represent Texas' 32nd Congressional District, freshman Democratic Congressman Colin Allred. Last week, he led the House passage of a non-binding resolution condemning the administration's push to dismantle the Affordable Care Act. You know, this is a political winner. The condemnation of President Trump's very surprise decision to all of a sudden revisit, revamp, and eliminate health care has certainly opened a door for Democrats. Congressman? I don't think he can hear us, Alex, so we'll work on his audio. And I'll jump in here with Jonathan Lemire. Jonathan, as we wait for that technical fix, it does seem like the president has put Republicans in a terrible position, and now this congressman who we're about to hear from is moving to condemn the president on this very decision.
That's right. I mean, health care, of course, is a third rail of American politics, and every Republican effort prior to overhaul and replace and the Affordable Care Act has met with failure. And the president has sort of internalized that. He's made it personal. You know, night after night on the campaign trail in 2015 and 2016, he railed against Obamacare. He has certainly held a grudge, even in death, towards Senator John McCain for his vote that helped defeat one Republican effort back in 2017. And there were many Republicans who didn't want to see this fight now, that he received a lot of pressure in the few days after the Justice Department decided to pick up this lawsuit, and the president suddenly was out there branding the Republican Party as the party of health care again. A number of people, including Senator Majority Leader McConnell, was sort of like, let's take it easy here. Let's slow this down a little bit. The president did. Right. He's punted it, at least for the time being. But this is something that we're going to see come up again as 2020 nears.
Well, so, Congressman, for some time, and thank you so much for being with us. For some time, people have been talking about, Democrats have been talking about the state of Texas going purple. And for that long, Republicans like myself have been very skeptical. But you winning in my friend Pete Sessions' district certainly sends a very strong message, I think, to both parties. And I just wonder, is health care the issue, not only in your district, but across the state of Florida, across the state of Texas, that actually helps Democrats do just that in 2020?
Well, thanks so much for having me on, Joe, and sorry about the audio problems there. Listen, I don't know what the political ramifications are, but I know this is the #1 issue in my district, and I think in districts similar to mine across the country. People are expecting us to work together to lower the cost of health care, see what we can do to expand coverage. And when the president is going out there trying to go around now the legislative system, as you said, with Senator McCain giving a thumbs down and not letting us repeal the ACA through the Congress to try and use the courts, I think it just reopens this wound and says that he's not really on the side of the folks who are trying to take care of their families and get the health care they need.
So you're new to Congress, new member representing your district. What are you hearing when you're going to town hall meetings? What are you hearing when you're back in the district, grocery shopping or going to Walmart? What are your voters telling you about health care? What do they want?
Yeah. Well, I think they're tired of us tearing it down and trying to not work together, not try to find ways to get things done. I think what they really want us to do is sit down and actually figure out how can we lower costs, how can we expand coverage. I had a group of folks visiting with me last week who have diabetes, type 1 diabetes. We're talking about the cost of insulin. It's not a partisan issue. It's something that we need to be working on together instead of the sabotage that's been going on. Find ways to actually see what we can do to deliver for the folks who we're supposed to be representing.
Congressman, especially on health care, the president's been the gift that keeps on giving. He steps on his excellent week after the Mueller news. He comes out and says, I'm going to celebrate by going directly after health care. But you've also raised the point that Democrats need to remain focused, something we've been talking about here this morning, that you've written that Democrats shouldn't allow themselves to be divided, that they shouldn't allow the president to put a wedge between them. What's your approach? What would be your advice within the Democratic Party for maintaining that kind of focus and for keeping an eye on the ball as you go into 2020 as a party?
Well, I think the lesson of 2018 in many of our races, and I include the primaries across the country, is that we need to stay focused on these issues and focused on delivering real results, not just putting our goals out there, which is important. You need to talk about where you want to go, where you want to end up, but you also have to deliver actual results. And how can we do that? What can we do in the short term to make people's lives better? And I think it begins with prescription drugs. The president has said that he wants to do it. Chuck Grassley in the Senate has said he wants to do it. I think we can make some progress there. I think we can obviously end some of the sabotage that's been going on that has been increasing premiums and raising costs. And then what's our next step from there? I think it is that we need to increase competition, lower costs through competition, and that's how we work our way towards all of our goals.
Congressman, I'm glad you raised prescription drugs. That was exactly what I wanted to ask you about, because my question is, you're right, the president wants to do something. We've seen Republicans in the Senate kind of give some indications they're willing to work on it. Do you think that House Democratic leaders would be willing to go along with a plan to lower those prices, even if it means giving President Trump something of a win?
I do. I really do. And I think that this is something that we're focused on. This is something that we all campaigned on, that we talked about as we were seeking these offices. I don't see this as a win for the president or for anyone else. I see it as a win for the American people. And I certainly will be using my voice to make sure that whatever we do, we don't let the politics creep into this, because it's important that we take steps now and we show that we can actually govern.
Congressman Colin Allred, thank you very much for coming on the show. Please come back.
And you know, Mika, it really is unbelievable that it has now been over a decade that Republicans have been attacking Obamacare. Republicans have been attacking Democrats. Republicans have been trying to kill President Obama's health care plan, and yet they never had an alternative. Paul Ryan never had a working alternative. Kevin McCarthy never had a working alternative. Mitch McConnell still doesn't have a working alternative. They are the do-nothing party when it comes to the most important issue to Americans.
Yeah.
That is bad politics. That's what caught up to them in 2018, along with the demagoguery over the border, and that's what's going to catch up with them in 2020.
Republicans and conservatives have their issues, and they have to, that they find important, but they have to embrace the fact that Americans want their health care.
Republicans have to come together.
That's the bottom line.
With a health care plan that can first unite their caucus.
Yeah.
And then that they can present to the American people in 2020. You can't beat something with nothing when it comes to Americans' health care.
Coming up, Tina Brown is explaining what happens when women stop bleeding like men. She joins us ahead with her latest New York Times op-ed. Plus, actress Kathy Bates is testifying on Capitol Hill tomorrow on an important issue. And before that, she joins us right here on Morning Joe. She's ahead in our 8 a.m. hour.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.